Hello, Internet. We got to talk. Now, hold on. This is important. On Thursday, December 14th, 2017, the FCC is going to vote on removing net neutrality.
Two, one, engage.
Enough of that. Ajit Pai was appointed to the head of the FCC specifically to remove net neutrality. By now, most people have a basic understanding of net neutrality and why the internet is essential in our daily lives. But for those of us that need a little refresher, let me start with a little bit of background. It's important to understand that the internet is essential in our daily lives. Most of us know this, but there are still those who tell me that it is a choice. And in a way, it kind of is a choice. The same kind of choice to wear socks and shoes, or to use electricity in our daily lives, to have fresh water. That is a choice. But those things are also essential. The way information is distributed nowadays is much more online rather than in print. If you've been unemployed or just looking for a job in the past 5 years, you likely noticed that most employers require an online application in whole or in part. Our entire infrastructure is dependent on the internet, and without it, it would fail. From banks to stoplights to power distribution to water distribution to just about everything else, including your cell phone, is controlled or managed in large part via the internet or networks that are on the internet. In today's modern world, the internet is essential. No two ways about it. You have to have it. What is net neutrality? Net neutrality is a set of rules that governs how internet service providers are to treat their customers and their data. You wouldn't allow your power company to tell you that you have to pay extra for a TV for power that you are paying for. You wouldn't let them tell you whether or not you could listen to a radio or watch a TV, or which radio stations you were allowed to listen to. Moreover, in the same way, you wouldn't allow your water company to say, you can have a glass of water, but your guests can't. You may be paying for it, but they're not allowed to have the water. Or you're not allowed to wash your dishes or your laundry with this water, you're only allowed to drink it. That just wouldn't fly. In the same way, net neutrality under Title II of the 1934 Communications Act prevents ISPs from telling you how you can use your data and your bandwidth, and what websites and services you're allowed to use or access. In general, I am for less government and more competition, more capitalism. That's generally the better way to go about it. In an idealistic situation, or at least more idealistic than it is now, most Americans or all Americans would have several ISPs to choose from. As it is now, ISPs have clear monopolies in most markets. Google Fiber and several other fiber internet providers are trying to lay down fiber infrastructure, but have constantly been blocked by AT&T and other ISPs. Now, in the case of AT&T versus Nashville, AT&T is delaying and blocking Google from laying down fiber for between months and years. Basically, their cables on the telephone poles need to be moved so that Google can lay theirs next to it. Now, a lot of time they hire the very same contractors that Google is trying to hire to move it, rather than let Google's contractors move it themselves. These are the engineers that they hire or employ that are trained specifically to do this. AT&T versus Nashville is just one example of what's happening all over the country. Internet service providers that have monopolies are preventing other service providers from coming in by doing lawsuits and other things that most companies that aren't like Google, who have a large cash stock, they're gonna go out of business or fail before they even get a chance to serve customers. This kind of ISP shenanigans has many examples. For instance, AT&T charged their customers more to use FaceTime, which is a built-in feature in iPhones. Verizon blocked Google Wallet from their customers' phones in exchange so that their customers would be forced to use the Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile ISIS wallet. Perhaps one of the most well-known shenanigans is when Comcast and others slowed down Netflix until Netflix paid them so that Comcast customers could access Netflix at speeds that they were already paying for. You may ask, shouldn't Netflix pay more because they're using more internet? That's not really what's going on here. I pay for my internet connection to the internet, not to Comcast Net. At the same time, Netflix pays for their access to the internet. Now, primarily, Netflix pays for their upload speed to the backbone of the internet, whereas I pay mostly for the download from the backbone of the internet. Netflix isn't connected to Comcast Net. They're not connected to Verizon Fios Net. They're not connected to the AT&T Uverse Net or the DSL Net. They're connected to the internet. And that's what I pay Comcast is for my access to the internet. They slowed down Netflix specifically because they saw an opportunity to take money from them. Those are just a few of the shenanigans that ISPs have been caught doing, and there are many, many more examples, and there are links below of some of those. Now, we all know that small business is essential to America. Ajit Pai will tell you that net neutrality is hurting small business. That is a bold-faced lie. If your small business isn't online, it's much more likely to fail. Small business cannot afford to pay for access to the internet and then pay more so their customers don't get slowed down or blocked from their websites. When people go to a website that takes a really long time to load or just doesn't load at all, they're not going to go to that website again. They're going to go find another website that provides the same information or same type of service. This will kill many small businesses, and it is exactly the backhanded type of thing that ISPs have been caught red-handed doing. Lately, the ISPs have been saying, we don't need these laws. We will obey these rules, but don't need the laws. Let me ask you, if they don't need the laws, why are they trying to remove them? I'll tell you, because they will not abide by the guidelines. Verizon stated in court under oath that but for these rules, we would be exploring those types of arrangements. TLDR on those types of arrangements is if net neutrality is removed, they will charge for, block, or limit services, content, and websites, especially if it competes with their services. Now, as reported in several news sites, including Ars Technica, Comcast deleted a no paid prioritization pledge from its net neutrality webpage, linked down below, on the very same day that the FCC announced its initial plan to repeal net neutrality rules. These people, these companies cannot be trusted to stop doing what they are already guilty of if we remove these laws, preventing them from doing it any further. The 1934 Communications Act required phone companies to collect regulatory fees to be used to provide all Americans with phone lines so that rural areas would not have to pay exorbitant amounts to get basic access. Our phone network as it is today was built from that money and largely built during the 60s and 70s. Similarly, the 1996 Communication Act required ISPs to collect a similar fee to build a fiber network to all American households. This broadband promise was to be completed by 2005, and every structure in America would have a 45 megabit up and down symmetrical connection for $20 per month. That was the promise. By 2004, these phone companies and ISPs have collected over $200 billion in excess phone and internet charges and tax perks. By the end of 2014, they collected around $400 billion. That's about $4,000 to $5,000 per household from 1996 to 2014. And that's the low number. Here we are 12 years after the promised completion date, and we have nothing similar. We even have around 10% of Americans lacking access to high-speed internet. So here's what you need to do before Thursday, December 14th. Contact your local and state officials. Give them a call, leave them a message, send them an email, send them a tweet, contact them on Facebook. Let them know what you feel about net neutrality. Let them know to put pressure on the FCC to not abolish net neutrality. Contact your congressperson, contact your representatives, your state and local representatives. Contact your mayor, contact the FCC. They have a number. You can leave them a message. You can send a tweet to Ajit Pai at Ajit Pai, or contact your internet service provider at Comcast if they're your service provider. Contact them. Let them know you don't want to lose the internet as it is. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I've watched a lot of other creators' videos, and we are using some of the same links. So some of the videos that I found most informative were on Barnacle Nerdgasm, Paul's Hardware, and Level 1 Techs. I'll leave a link to them as well in the description. And there are a lot of other ones that did great videos too, but those are the ones that come to mind most. Now, there's always more to be said on this subject. There's always more information that I couldn't put in here. This is a shorter video. I have a longer one from July. If you want to check that out, go ahead. But if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you think I said something wrong, or if you disagree with me, leave it in the comments. Let me know. I would love to engage with you. I would love to answer any questions you have. Or if I've said something wrong, let me know what I said wrong. I'm more than happy to be to have constructive criticism. Now, if you like this video, feel free to go ahead and leave it a like, but more importantly, share it so more people are able to see it and get this information. I'd like to ask you to subscribe, but more importantly, contact your local officials by December 14th, by Thursday. Let them know what you think. Let them know your position on net neutrality and the vote on the FCC that's going to be taking place on the 14th. Hey, as always, thanks for watching Jake 3D, and I will see you in the next one.